Just figured I'd take a second to show y'all how my compost pile was doing. You can see those rather large clippings right there. That's from elevating of a Brussels sprout plant. The winds are picking up, so I really needed to do a little pruning on it. You can see plenty of volunteer stuff growing down there. I wish it wasn't. That's grass. It does not appear to be Bermuda grass. Since it's growing now, it likes it a little bit cooler. I'll turn it over, till it back in with the loader, so to speak, when I point this pile up again, and I add some other nutrients from down around my vineyard. You can see here, there's quite a bit of stuff mixed into this. Last year's crops that were no longer necessary got put on top of this pile, then it got turned in, and we just kept adding and adding and adding and adding and adding, and then here it is now. But you can see some of the seeds blow up underneath the tarp and they grow, but that's not a problem. It's not a problem at all, even though surrounding soils are weeds, and eventually when the temperature comes up above about 85 degrees consistently, there'll also be a lot of germination from Bermuda and invasive rhizome grasses. Not a big deal. I don't care. As you can see, vegetables will already grow. I've even got a negative bug right there, but by the time he's done and I'm done, we'll all be in the same boat. I can show you here the temperature setting is just below 100 degrees, if you can make that out. So we are now officially in hot composting mode. I've got some things that I'm going to add, like I was saying before, from the vineyard. And if I just raise up, it's down there. Below that is also my pond. And periodically I remove some of the grasses that grow inside the pond, and I compost them too. They all end up in here. They're rich in nitrates, nitrates, and nitrogen. It's all loaded up into there. If it's green, it's for me. Sorry about that noise, folks. A little air traffic. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and head on down there and show you a little bit about what I'm talking about with regard to the weeding that I did and the amends that I'm gonna add to this pile. Strangely enough, they're actual weeds. Folks, pardon the interruption from the wind. I'm just going to try and talk a little bit as loud as I can so that you can hear me over the wind. Anyway, we're down below my vineyard. This little hill right here measures about 5 feet high in some areas, down to about 3 feet on the end. And this has been chipped in the past. As you can see, I chipped it. And every single spring, I get a whole new fresh crop of dandelions and you name it, it's in there. Sorrel and gosh, you name it. If it's a weed, it exists here in the Piedmont of North Carolina. These soils are ripe for growing weeds. They're also ripe for growing blackberries. As you can see here, I've got my thorn variety blackberry. Interspersed in the middle of it is some of the sweet gum trees, some poplar maybe even growing in there. Everything falls here, everything grows here. So these things that grow here really enjoy acidic soil. My red clay is acidic. It's pretty simple. We've known that for years. If we want to grow grass, I have to put tons and tons of dolomite lime or some form of lime on the soil just to get the grass to be happy enough with the soil content to be able to grow. But what can I say about that? Well, I don't much care for grass. I don't care. I'd rather grow a vegetable or a fruit than grass. Hopefully you can relate to that. But those of you that like to grow grass, I'm good with that. We used to grow grass up north. I don't anymore. Now I just grow weeds. Why do I grow these weeds? Because these weeds tell me something about the soil. In particular, you can see some weeds right here. Just take a good look. If you have to, pause the video, zoom in on it, and get a good look. You can see down there there's plenty of dandelion. What does dandelion do? Well, it adds calcium to the soil. What does green cuttings from dandelions do? Well, that adds nitrogen to the soil. Okay, what else is added? Well, you can see down there there's grass, if I'm not mistaken. You know, grass has got quite a bit of nitrogen in it as well. And over there you can see some wild onions. Now we're cooking with gas. So I don't hate these weeds. I actually enjoy these weeds. They tell me a lot about growing. They tell me a lot about the environment. When I put these weeds here, by not taking them out, not crucifying them, not pouring Roundup over the top of them to poison the soil for generations to come. No, I just let them grow. When they seed head, I pop them off. I make a pile. When they flower, I pop them off and make a pile. That's going to go in my compost. And it's going to get turned. And I'm going to get everything that these weed plants have decided that I need to regenerate my soil. If you look at the dandelion after you've pulled it in, you notice it's got a very big spiked pointed root to it, very similar to carrots and things, root crops of that nature. It goes down into this hard pan clay and it breaks it up. It allows oxygenation to occur. It allows worms to have food. You know what else? The moles and the voles. The moles come for the worms that are attached to those roots, and the voles come for those roots themselves. When everything falls down and it starts to break down into the soil, it enriches and it enhances the soil. Who doesn't like enriched and enhanced soil? I know I do. Anyway, this is Creedmoor's vineyard. Some of the plants took a little bit of a hit from the cold last Friday, but I can tell you this, it looks like every one of them is going to survive. And since we always hedge our bets by keeping extra nursery stock around, whatever doesn't survive, I'll simply replace. So, you know, I get a lot of people who are always asking me, what do you do about weeds? Well, take a look. There's no weeds. There's no weeds. I maintain them, I manage them. When they pop up and they're small, I pop them out. If I see a high concentration of weeds in one particular area, I can usually pull out some chips, and I'll find that there's dirt. In dirt is weed seeds. Dirt is the weed bank. So if the dirt ends up in your garden and it's close to the surface, it's probably going to express weeds at some point. Because there's not a whole lot of dirt, at least in my area and my climate and my growing zone, that doesn't already have weeds in it. So, what does that mean? In this particular case, the weed bank led to seeds germinating in this little shallow lay of wood chips on the bank, on the embankment. Over there you can see part of the red clay rearing its ugly head. And these weeds are seeking to neutralize acids. They are seeking to enhance the percolability of the soil, its ability to take water and let the water down into lower layers. They're actually doing a job, folks. So the next time you decide you want to hate on every single weed, maybe take a few minutes and look it up. These days you can simply snap a picture of that flower head right there, or that bulb right there, and Google will tell you exactly what it is. And if you read what Google says, you'll find out what these weeds do for your soil. So you know what, folks? Those weeds are going in my compost, and by the time I'm done composting, those weeds won't exist anymore. But the trace elements and minerals will. They'll still be in that compost. And then that compost will go to, well, where? To my beds. Not the beds in my house, but the flower beds around my house. Maybe even a startup Eden bed. I don't necessarily need that to be added to my existing Eden beds because, well, they're in really good shape. So what I take today, I use tomorrow. I don't really worry about yesterday because that's past and gone. Can't do much about that. So if you let your weeds go in your garden and you fail to keep them out of your garden, what do? Bend over and pick them up? Yank them out? Let them grow? How about this? Collect them in a bucket and compost them. And then add them back as a compost layer. That is the absolute sanest thing that you can ever do with your weeds. Stop worrying about them, stop fretting about them, and start understanding why those weeds are in your soil in the first place. They're telling you something. The color of them, the type, the flavor, the context. Every little thing is a clue. So Creedmoor's tip of the day, go outside and find all your clues. See which one of those clues can do your garden and your growing system a world of good. I promise you, you'll be so pleasantly surprised when you find out exactly what's going on. You'll never look at a weed the same way again. These are all the weeds. Let me get a little closer. Y'all can see I'm not joking. Dandelion. It's Grasses with seeds? Who would do that? Someone who knows how to compost would do that. I know y'all have all seen these weeds before. This is nothing new to you. This pile is about 100 degrees. That's going in there. It's green. Green matter is going to make it cook even more. And it'll get so hot, all of those seeds will be rendered infertile. It won't stop at 100 degrees either. It'll keep going. I should get another 20 degrees within the next month. And then this pile will be even shorter. Okay, here we go. Now I've got this compost pile turned and pointed up. This is what I mean by pointed up towards the sun. That point faces up. Oh, look at that, Mr. Potato Head. Hey, what's up, man? Doing your thing, I see. Nobody knocked you off the wall yet. Anyway, we pointed up to the sun. I believe that helps the energy dissipate in more of an organized fashion through the center of the point. Mankind has sort of, you know, replicated and duplicated and used this shape for centuries, for sometimes in some cases for reasons unbeknownst to us, but in other cases it just seems like it works, and this is one of them. When I shoot this with my laser temperature gauge, I can see exactly what's going on temperature wise, and I can see that that point right there emits the most heat. So pretty cool, if you ask me. In another month I'll be back here again, maybe adding some more green, maybe add a little tan, you know, and mix it all up, and it'll be a hodgepodge. It'll be primordial goo, but it will become something extremely fertile to add to our flower beds. Pretty good size right now. I would estimate it's probably a couple 2 yards, maybe 3 yards. But anyway, cool. Here we go.